Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel and welcome to my Quickie series. In this series I try to cover some key concepts and tenets within the game, explain them in a little bit of detail and how do you go about building them or using them within your fortress. I received a comment in one of my other videos about defenses and traps within a fortress, and that's the topic of this video. And whilst I try to keep it to 5 minutes, this might take a few more minutes longer, but I'll put the timer on and my 5 or so minutes starts now. Okay, so defenses in my mind come under two categories: active defense and passive defense. Passive defense are defenses that don't do any damage to the enemy but allows you to control enemies' access to your fortress. So in this regard, I start building a moat that joins this river and this inlet, you can see in the map, with a 3x3 moat. And then I've started building a wall on the other side with the drawbridge. So this is passive because I'm using the terrain to my advantage, and the enemy will get to this point and then they'll stop. And I'll either try and get across and potentially drown. If I have a wall all around that, that'll be very hard. But I can put the bridge up and down with a lever, and I can let segments of the enemy's force come through instead of everyone just rushing across the field straight into my fortress entrance, which is here. And you can use this effectively on the overworld, here on the surface, but also inside your fortress. If I go down, by digging out channels, which is mining U, and digging them down into pits so enemies are channeled into where you want them. Another form is here. I've got a bridge covering another little moat. So if they do get past all my active defenses, which I'm going to talk to you about in a second, I can flip a switch here and then that bridge comes up and they can't get any further. Okay, so that's passive defense, and you can use that in a layered kind of defense where you sequentially build different passive defense. So I can build another moat or little chasm here and put another bridge, so I'll have another level, and then I can use these switches to let bits of the enemy force through it at a time into where I want them. Okay, now what you're probably watching the video is what I would call active defense, and that is traps themselves. Oh, how about I zoom down? So here you can see I've got some cage traps. I don't have any stonefall traps yet, and I've got some weapon traps. So what do traps need? All traps need a mechanism, which is made at your mechanics, with a rock. That's it. Boulders laying around from mining can be turned into mechanisms, and you only need one for each trap. You also need, for some of your weapon traps, your metalsmith's forges, where you can turn steel ingots or iron ingots or copper ingots into, into trap components. So we'll go iron. You can see here giant axe blades, serrated discs, etc. Okay, but that requires you to have a steel or a metal industry, and that might not be suitable early on. So let's go through the trap types. So we go to get traps, we press B, press T, and then you have a list of the traps. Cage traps is simple. Click on that, put it on the ground where you want it to go, put your mechanism in, and when a cage is available, they'll put it in place. What that does is when an enemy runs over that pressure plate, cage will fall on the head, and then they are captured and become harmless to your citizens whilst in a cage. But they can only hold one enemy at a time. So if you've got 20 goblins coming through, only 9 of them will capture and the rest will come through into your fortress. So what's the next? Cages are made early on. I highly recommend you make them at your carpenters out of a piece of wood. That's it. But later on you can make them or forge them out of any metal ingot you've got laying around your fortress. The next type of trap is your stonefall trap. They are really low resource intensive, and I highly recommend them. You put them in your hallways that are 1x1, so they can't be dodged. What do they need? They need a mechanism, which is made out of one stone, and then a boulder, which a dwarf will bring from elsewhere in the fortress and put into that trap there. And when an enemy walks over him, a boulder lands on the head. And the last one I want to talk to you about, does the most damage, is a weapon trap. This requires you to have some kind of metal industry going on, but you click on it, it requires one mechanism, made it your mechanics, and then you can put any weapon in here that is available. But I highly recommend you use trap weapons that are, again, made at your metalsmiths, like serrated iron discs or whatever material disc, and you can put up to 10 of these items in any trap. I'll put an iron spike, and so they'll all go off at once, causing a lot of damage. And if you put that in a 1x1 hallway, and we'll go done, like I've done here, and you drop this down a few feet, if they're not killed, they'll get flung off to the side potentially, and they'll fall all the way down to here, and they'll take full damage, and they have to run back up the stairs, and then they start again. And that, if I fill this up with all the weapon traps, this can deal with quite a large horde without a single dwarf having to get into combat. And that's pretty much my 5 minutes done. And I want to talk about one more point, and that is layering these together and thinking about defense as you're building. As you can see, I built a room here with a baluster. The entrance comes down here, and if I build another little, I guess, chasm here and put a bridge over it, and I pull that bridge up like here, I'll do it right now, pull lever, and I raise that bridge like here, all the goblins will be trapped here, and my baluster and any crossbow dwarves I put in here can just shoot through these slits and do as much damage as they possibly can to an invading fortress, to an invading army. And they're things you need to consider when laying out your fortress and layering your defenses. Okay, as you can see there, it's the bridge is retracted, and if I build another one there, which I will later, that's great. And pull it again, and the bridge goes across. So that's defenses in a nutshell. There's a bit to cover there, and it took a bit longer than 5 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you've got any questions or you'd like any other topics to be covered in this Quickie series, please leave a comment. And I hope you're all having a great day and you're enjoying your Dwarf Fortress gameplay. Talk to you all in the next video.